Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Penapple and today I'm building a stepped villa. Fancy name for a fancy house, I guess, but if you're interested in this build, you can download it off of the gallery. My origin ID is penappleYT. So as I'm sure you've already noticed, we've kind of started off rather far into this build. I did this build a really long time ago while streaming, and I had gotten this far and realized I hadn't been recording, and it was one of those points where it was too far to turn back, and I was like, oh, maybe I just won't record it at all. And then the chat was like, no, record it, it'll still be good. So we're here. And this build has just been so heavily edited because, well, I struggled with it really hard on stream, so I cut out a whole bunch of the struggles, and I finally deserted it for a bit. I just kind of put it aside, and when I came back to it, I wasn't streaming while I built it. I was just recording it, and that helped a lot. But by that point, I already had 10 hours of footage, and so as we got towards the end, I just didn't record some of the bedrooms, so I apologize for that. This video is wildly incomplete and jumps around like crazy, but would it really be my video if it wasn't like that? I've never actually had anyone complain. It's funny because I'm always like, oh my gosh, people are going to notice that it's so jumpy. But I mean, it's fast forwarded, so of course it's jumpy. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, people are going to realize that they didn't show this one thing. But I have never had anybody say that they noticed. Although now that I've mentioned it, I probably will. But anyways, it'll be the first time in I think over 200 speed builds at this point. I have a crazy amount of speed builds. I've been doing YouTube for over 2 years now, I think. Yeah, over 2 years. So I missed my 2-year anniversary. It just whizzed by me, and then I looked back and a month had passed, and I was like, oh, well, there's that. But part of the reason why I had so much trouble with this house is the back end of it. I had no idea what to do. You can see here, I'm just sitting here as I'm like, what do I do? And so I tried so many different things before I finally settled on one design, which, oh my God, I tried so many things. It was so awful because I had a reference picture for the front of what I was kind of basing it off of. And then I turned around to the back and I was like, what am I gonna do now? Because I don't know. Because you can see I did the thing where I draw the geometric shape and make it try and look like it's landscaped, up elevated, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with the back because I wanted the back to be not as perched on a cliff. I wanted it to be more on supports over the ground type thing. So it is a little bit more, not a huge amount, but yeah. It is how it is. It's very, yes, words. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. This build was kind of a headache to do, but at the end, when I was recording the panoramic shots, which I also did on stream, that was fun. I did basically start to finish my entire intro for this. So if you're ever interested in that, I sometimes do that on my Twitch. So. Mostly because it's so lonely sometimes editing all by yourself. I'm not even kidding. But yeah, so when I was doing the panoramic shots, I kept being like, oh my God, this house is so gorgeous. I really love how it turned out. I think it's so, I guess, posh. It's so fancy. And I love doing desert homes. When I get into a really good vibe with it, it's so great because Oasis Springs is far and wide the least favorite. I think sometimes people aren't a huge fan of Magnolia Promenade or maybe the Vampire World, or sometimes people forget about Outdoor Retreat World. I forget what that's called. It's some sort of foresty thing. I kind of feel bad that I can't remember it. But anyways, Oasis Springs tends to be kind of the world that gets left behind. So it's always nice to show it a little bit of love. And by building a mega mansion, this ended up having 6 bedrooms, I think. A lot. It had basically 2 master bedrooms and a guest room, and then 2 kids rooms and a toddler room. So let's see, 6. I can count very slowly. Yes, I did count on my fingers. Yes, I did get a degree in chemistry. Yes, I did take advanced calculus, but yes, I also counted on my fingers to 6. I'm so useless at, like, I'm really great at calculus. I'm really bad at practical math. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. I have some fun stories. I have mall adventures. It's been a while since I've had mall adventures. I needed to return some clothes. And so first of all, my boyfriend was nice enough to drive me to the mall. And he drove me to the mall, and we quickly realized that that mall didn't actually have the store that I needed to return the clothes to. I got clothes from Rue 21, and they had Forever 21, but that has nothing to do with Rue 21, despite the name. Absolutely nothing in common. They just accepted the number 21. Anyways, so we then had to drive like 25 minutes to get to a mall that had the Rue 21. And we go in, and I'm like waiting in line for the person to buy their clothes. I think there was 2 people in front of us, but it was longer than usual that you have to wait in a store at the mall to like do something. And we finally get to the counter, and the guy at the counter just levels me like a stare, and he's like, "We don't do returns." And I was like, oh my God. And then he's like, "I'm just kidding. Of course we do returns." And me and my boyfriend were just like, this is the wrong person. I even was like, I drove 25 minutes to get here. That's not the joke to make to me. Oh my gosh. We both were very surly. I mean, whenever I get pissed off, I try and be like really polite about it, because it's not really their fault usually. But in this case, I was just not as pleasant as I usually am. I was very like, he tried to start a conversation with me. He's like, "You guys doing anything fun after this?" And I was just like, no, we're not. I mean, the same thing happened when I went to go get blood drawn for testing. And the guy was like, "You doing anything fun after this?" And it took me like an hour of waiting on this guy doing the like blood draws. And so it took everything in me to say, "Well, we were going to go out to eat lunch, but that's not happening anymore." I didn't say that, but I was like so close. I was just like, don't even ask me. Instead, I was just like, nope, we're not going to do anything fun ever. No fun till the end of time. But while I was also at the mall, I just have adventures sometimes, but I need to get running shoes, and so we went into a store, and I'm just kind of trying on shoes, and these 2, like, young women just kind of, like, bolted into the store very excitedly, talking very fast, and they went up to the shoe display that was, like, right in front of me as I'm trying on shoes, and they started, like, pulling shoes like left and right, and like making tons of noise, and like putting the boxes, like sliding them in and out, and like they were trying on shoes, but they were just like it just like hyenas. They were just it was really intense. I know this doesn't sound as exciting as it was for me, but I assure you it was very dramatic, and stuff was being thrown on the floor, tissue paper was flying. A sales clerk went up to them and was very pointedly like, "Can I help you?" And me and my boyfriend were just like, "We don't want to be here anymore. This is stressful." And then we literally left the shoe store because it was like, I can't around these no. I don't go out a huge amount, in case that wasn't shockingly obvious by my lack of stories to tell. But I have one last thing to say about that mall. Actually, both of the malls I went to. Apparently, maybe it's just Seattle, but there is a new thing going on where they have like these giant teddy bear-like things that are also motorized scooters, and children sit on them and ride around the mall. And I saw this in both malls. Maybe this is a Seattle thing, but it's very creepy. I will try to remember to include a photo of the SpongeBob one that I saw, but it was just like, this is what you ride into the depths of hell. This is really weird. And like, it was made especially weird because they were like stuffed animals, and their feet, their legs, but they were like crouched like animals, and so but their legs didn't move as they rolled along. And it was just very disconcerting and creepy, and they kept them behind a little fence like they were little animals, and I just had never seen anything quite like it before, and so I was just very like, what is happening? what I've aged, and now I don't know what's hip. I don't know what's cool. I don't know what's going on with the young folks these days. But I am finally getting to the windows of this build. I wasn't kidding when I said I was being indecisive about this build. It took me so long, and like, keep in mind, I cut out so much. I think kind of like the tally in my mind of all of the footage I had plus all of the time I spent not recording, I think this build probably took me like 14 hours. I mean, usually a build of this size wouldn't take me quite so long. Maybe we're like 10 hours, but like 14 hours. It was rough. I was complaining about this the entire time I was building it too, but it was well, I wouldn't say it was worth it, but it did turn out nice. We'll go with that. I wouldn't say it was worth it, but it sure is pretty to look at. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that's like, it doesn't have a huge amount going on. I mean, between just I'm not working right now. Grad school doesn't start for another month, so I'm just doing YouTube and Twitch. And I mostly go outside to go on hour-long jogs like 2 to 3 times a week, but I don't really interact with anybody. Nothing exciting happens unless people catcall me, which I wouldn't call exciting, and I'd more call an affront to myself and an attack on my personal safety. I don't like it when people talk to me when I jog. I really don't like it. Especially because they say weird things. They look at me funny. They make weird noises. They honk at me. I don't like it. I don't know if it's just Seattle or if it's just because I'm outside and running, but I don't know. And it's not like I go at like late times. Like I go out in the morning, like after rush hour. I don't know. One time I was jogging and like there was this intersection that I kind of had to cross, but there was a car that pulled over in front of me, like not like enough where it would hit me, but he kind of pulled over in front of me. And he like got out of his car and he like was like, "I need your help." And I'm like, "Oh God, I'm about to get axe murdered." But I slowed down because like I'd have to like go around him, and I was like, I guess if it's bad, I'll just turn around and run. But like, it was this older guy, and he like insisted that I navigate his GPS for him. Like, he had his phone, and he was like, "It's taking me the wrong direction, and I don't know what to do with it." So I was like, "Okay, just give me your phone." And I programmed it, and I sent him on his way. But I was just like, that was really bad. Oh my gosh, but I was fine. I was just, oh my God. It was, I just don't like it when people talk to me. I'm just trying to jog. Can't you find somebody who's not trying to jog? It's a city. There's lots of people who aren't jogging. Anyways, I did this trick with the rocks. Very nice. There are tables and chairs that we got, I think, an outdoor retreat. And so I just positioned them, and for this whole big bottom base of the build, I actually knocked out one of the walls so that it had outdoor lighting inside, which is, if you've never really built in The Sims, that sentence doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but if you have, it does. Basically, you build a box in The Sims, and it's like its own container. It has like a lid, and it has a floor, and there's no light in it. You knock out one of the walls, and all of a sudden it has light in it. You add a hole in the ceiling, and it has light in it. And so if you have an object that's mostly in the enclosed space, it'll be dark. But if you knock a hole in the wall, the object will be as light as if it was just in the outdoor space. If that makes sense. I feel like I'm not very good at explaining things. Either that or I over-explain things. I go back and forth. But for the interior of this build, I really wanted to keep with the sort of desert theme. And so this build has a lot of like sandy sort of neutral tones to it. And I really like how that turned out. And like the pops of color are almost similar to the outside with like the greenery and the blue of the pool. And it's just a very summery home. And I have lots of like outdoor spaces. Like I have the hot tub position nestled right into the pool. I have the outdoor bar. I have all the seating sections. And so it just seems like a house where you would really just like be inside and outside like all the time. Like, you would just go in and out like, as you please, which, living in Washington all my life is a weird concept to me. Like, we have doors and windows that close for a reason, but I know that in some places, like, a lot of stuff is a lot more open air, and I've only ever, like, lived in open air spaces when I went camping, really, and, like, because they had, like, kind of log cabins that were open air, but they were so cold, like, because it's Washington, and so, like, you'd go to sleep, and you'd be nestled into your sleeping bag, like, huddled for warmth, and then you'd wake up in the morning, and it'd be so cold, and you wouldn't want to get out of your sleeping bag, but you'd have to, and, like, you would tuck your clothes into your sleeping bag, the clothes you were going to wear the next day, so that when you woke up, your clothes wouldn't be, like, freezing cold. And it's, like, the middle of summer, and you're like, how can it get so cold in the middle of summer? But when you're out in the wilderness, even in the dead of summer, it's still cold. It's so cold. The state is so cold. But it's nice. It's better than when it gets really hot, because a lot of people, myself included, don't have air conditioning. So when it gets hot, it's the end of the world. But I was going to make this space the living room, and I was going to have the dining room be in the same room as the kitchen. But as a lot of people pointed out, by me putting a TV here, I was kind of really cringing on the view. And so I ended up moving the entire living room upstairs, which is kind of odd for me, because when I think of a home, I think of the living room, the kitchen, and the dining room all being on the same floor. It's kind of rare for, like, it's not a really usual layout for it to be different otherwise. So I felt kind of weird moving the living room up here, but I did like how it turned out. I thought it made a lot more sense. It gave me a lot more freedom. I made this little breakfast nook downstairs. It's not functional, like, at all. I don't even know if the Sims can sit there, but it looks cute. And I added, like, a little TV, so, like, you could maybe watch, like, a cooking show while you're cooking, or just, like, a regular show while you're cooking, or maybe throw on MTV and, like, dance to some stuff. Do people still watch MTV? Is that a thing? The last time I watched MTV, like, actually sat down and watched MTV, I was in my teens. I'm almost 25 now. My birthday's in just a couple months. So, like, is MTV still a thing? I feel like it is. I know it's not a music thing if it is a thing. But I don't know. They used to play music videos on MTV. Why am I making myself sound so old? I guess because I'm going to be 25. Oh my gosh. I was hanging out with my cousins because I went to Pennsylvania for a week. And they're 18 and 19. And they were just casually chatting with each other. And I was kind of not fully paying attention. But I heard them say something like, oh, like, isn't it when you turn 25, that's when you start to, like, slowly die and, like, your body starts to decompose, like, like, you stop, like, you literally aren't getting any younger, you're just getting older or something like that, like, I don't know. But then they turned to me and they're like, how old are you again? I'm like, 24. And they both kind of looked at me with these, like, dual looks of pity, like, oh my God, you're so old. And I was just like, I'm not that old. I'm about to get on a roller coaster with you guys. Come on, I'm not that old. Oh my gosh. But when I was in Pennsylvania, I went to Hershey Park, which is, like, it's an amusement park themed off of Hershey chocolate, and so cool. I love that place. We went there a lot when I was a kid, and I wonder if I've told this story. Maybe I have. If I have, it was a while ago. But my favorite story is that there's this ride called the White Bear. And when I was, like, 10-ish, that was when it first came out, and it was new, and it was a big deal, and it was one of the ones where the seats are suspended, so your legs are, like, free kicking in the breeze, and it was a big deal. It was a big deal when it came out. I really wanted to ride it, but I was a very short child. I am now a average-sized adult woman. I'm 5'4", average size, average to short, but not short. I'm not short. I'm very defensive about this. But when I was a kid, I was very short. Also, look, I made a rock croissant. It was a big deal to me. I accidentally made this, and it looked like a croissant. I'm so sidetracked, but I thought it looked really cute. There's a clip of me, like, going, I made a croissant, and it's very cute. But anyways, back to the story. The White Bear. It was a ride, and my mom hates roller coasters, and I was just barely, like, an inch too short to go on this ride. And I was like crying to my mom because I'm 10 years old, and all of my other cousins got to go on it. Even Molly, who's younger than me by 2 years, and she got to go on it because she's taller than me by an inch. And so my mom was like, there, I'll go on it with you once you're tall enough. I promise. Just you and me will go on the ride and it'll be a lot of fun. Well, fast forward to 1 or 2 years later, I remembered. My mom wasn't expecting me to remember. My mom hates heights. She never wants to go on roller coasters ever again. That's the last roller coaster she probably will ever go on. But I pulled out that card. I was like, but you promised, Mom. You promised. Don't you want to keep your promises? You raised me to keep promises. You promised. And my mom very grudgingly went on this ride with me. Now that I'm older, I feel really bad. But at the time, I had that, sort of like glee, like that glee in somebody else's like discomfort, which sounds terrible, but you felt it. At some point you felt that. But my mom, the entire ride, her eyes were just clamped shut. And afterwards, it was a very sunny day. And so she was like, and my eyes were closed and the sun was shining through. And so everything was just red. And I was just like, this is what hell must actually be like. Which is kind of a big statement for my mom. She doesn't tend to make a lot of jokes about hell. Not like I do. I've already made a joke about hell in this video with those odd creatures that children ride upon. Anyways, we're very far into this build, and I've run through all my stories and all my notes. So the last video, I ended with, I guess I could tell my story about grapes. And then I realized that I had run out of time, and I was like, oh good, now you don't have to hear the story about grapes. But here we are. And now you get to hear my beyond boring story about grapes. This story is so mundane, and yet I'm about to tell it anyways. So, growing up, I have always hated green grapes. Like, they're just so bitter. It would give me goosebumps when I eat them. And sometimes specific, sour, bitter things to this day will give me goosebumps. But when I was a kid, I was just goosebump central. I hated it. I hated the way, the skin on the green grapes felt. It was just, I couldn't do it. And so, flash forward to now, my boyfriend accidentally buys green grapes when I asked for grapes, because I didn't tell him. I didn't have any reason to tell him that I very specifically loathe green grapes. But I tried them, and they were just fine. They were sweet. They tasted exactly like red grapes. And so I was like, this is so weird. I don't understand. These are completely normal grapes. Well, then I went to Pennsylvania to visit my family, and there were grapes in the fruit salad. And I was like, oh, they're green grapes. And I'm like, I got this. I can eat green grapes. They're just normal grapes. I take half of a grape because they were cut and sliced. I take half a grape, put it in my mouth, instantly regretted it. It was so sour. My skin was like goosebump central. And I was like, this is why I don't like green grapes. I was like, it's my family. It's my family. They get the weird grapes that I don't like. Oh, God. Did you know that grapes actually have seeds in them? That might sound like a really stupid sentence, but if you were raised in the U.S. like me, a lot of supermarkets don't carry grapes with seeds in them. They just have the genetically modified or genetically breeded, they don't do actual testing on them. It's like crossbreeding plants or whatever that don't have seeds in them. And so they're called seedless grapes. And I saw that as a kid. I saw seedless grapes, but it never quite clicked for me that meant that some grapes had seeds in them. So I went to Hungary when I was 15 as an exchange student, and I took a big bite of a grape, and it just crunched into the seed. And I was like, oh my God, this is a grape with seeds. My fruit stories aren't very interesting, are they? Oh, well, maybe I tell them well. But that's at least what I can tell myself, is that I tell the story well, and that's why you guys are all here listening to my story about grapes. Feel free to tell me down below any fun fruit stories that you have, because I'd be really excited to hear. And I feel like I had thought of something. Oh, I know what I thought of. So, I ramble. I'm rambling now. I rambled from basically the minute this video started, always and forever. And I'm constantly interrupting myself in my train of thought to go off little side avenues that we don't need to go to, but we're gonna go there anyways because I need you to see this very specific small detail that has nothing to do with the main plot, but we're gonna go to it anyways. Well, I realized that that is my family. I hadn't really realized it because my mom doesn't necessarily have the same sort of conversations with my dad as she does with her sister, but like put my mom and her sister, my aunt, in the same room and they sound just like me. Side stories galore, and it is hard to follow a conversation with them because they just meander everywhere. And like we sat down to plan our week in Pennsylvania and it took like an hour and we came up with, well, I guess we could go to King of Prussia, that's a mall. I guess we'll go to this one place to pick grapes, not grapes, gosh, no, blueberries. And like, it took a whole hour and that's what we came up with. 2 things. Well, yeah, 2 things. And I was just like, this is who I am. This is why I have a reason. I'm not just odd. It's been bred into me. I know. I can't talk. Oh my gosh. But we are coming up on the end of this build. I think I might be bringing a CC build to you guys next week. Either that or a challenge build. There were a lot of challenges this month by a whole bunch of other simmers who were like, I came up with this challenge. I bet you can't do it, but I bet you can. But anyways, I might do that. I'm not sure yet. But I hope that you guys all having a great day. I can't talk. Can't get through the outro. Hope you're having a great day. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave me a like, a comment, or subscribe. And yeah, I will see you guys all next time. Bye.